Shame is an incredibly effective tool, and a tool that a narcissist knows exactly how to use. There is a reason why so many of us struggle with shame after narcissistic abuse. And I will go through those reasons, but first I will tell you a story to illustrate just how effective shame can be when you want someone to do something for you. Some years ago, I was doing research in a research group at one of the Swedish universities. And one of the young men in the group had an extremely high completion rate for the clinical trial that he was responsible for. Most of the volunteers, the participants in the trial, were middle-aged women. And I think he had almost 100% completion rate, if not 100. And the professor told me exactly how this young man was able to do that. Because the trial, the research or the experiment involved some inconvenience for the participants. And the trial went on for, I think, 3 weeks. And they had to do something every day that was a bit inconvenient to get the measurements for the experiment. But this young man, he was very, very polite to the participants. But when any one of them would call in to say that they wanted to opt out, he would become very, very disappointed and sad, because then he wouldn't get all the data. And usually the participant would then reconsider and agree to complete the 3 weeks. And I think that part of why they changed their mind was feeling a bit ashamed because they would mess up the data for this young researcher. And he showed that to them, that he was disappointed and that it would affect his data. But that was probably a mild shame that they felt. And there are different degrees of shame. Intense shame can feel very painful, anxiety-provoking, and you feel defeated, unworthy. You may have feelings of self-loathing. We turn our attention inward and look at ourselves with very critical eyes. Shame is an important social cue. For most of our history, it was very important for human beings to be part of the tribe, to be part of the group, and to not be shunned. Being expelled from the group meant danger. It meant having to fend for yourself, being a target for predators, etc. So it was very important to keep yourself as a valued member of the group. Shame is a signal that you are losing attachment. You've done something wrong. Take a look at yourself. But the narcissist takes this built-in mechanism that is there to protect and guide us, and uses that mechanism against us. They trigger our shame over and over again. They may do it directly by showing irritation or anger, signaling that you are the cause of this problem. They may criticize you or show disgust, which is one of our strongest triggers, the strongest trigger for shame, when someone else is disgusted by us. When we speak they may be uninterested or not look you in the eye when you are sharing something. When I was doing my the foundation year training as a doctor, there was a leadership course in the beginning of that those 2 years, where we all the young doctors who were starting out in the same batch for the foundation year training, we were for 3 days at this conference, and it was sort of strengthening us and forming a sense of group connection, but also it was certain exercises there that were meant for personal development. And in one of the exercises, we were supposed to pair with someone else. And then we got the assignment that one of you will tell a story of something, and then the other person will purposefully show you an disinterest. So they will not look at you, they will show irritation or yawn or and so on. And that went on for 1 minute. And as I was doing that, it was so hard to tell this story, even though it wasn't, I can't remember even what I told the other person about, but it was something not important. But it was so hard to continue to talk for 1 minute when the other person was showing this interest. And not only I felt this, but several other people in the group had the same reaction. I didn't know it would be this hard. And then we switched it around, so the other person would listen attentively and nod and encourage you to keep talking. And I was paired with the same woman, and that made me feel so seen. And it is healing to talk to someone who, even if it's not important, who gives you attention, even for just 1 minute. So the aim of the exercise was to show us how important it is that we as doctors listen to the patients when they speak. But in the end of my narcissistic marriage, when I was trying to tell my husband something, he would look at his phone or show irritation or criticize me. And it was very painful. I felt awkward and I felt ashamed. And there were so many instances during my marriage to him that I felt intense shame. I will share something with you because it has recently come up so I have been talking about this with 2 women in the community that had the same experience. So I will share something that I have not shared in videos before. But one of the most painful aspects of the abuse was getting emotionally deprived. So not getting hugs or affirmation or not getting attention from him. But in the end, the last few years, he also didn't want to be intimate with me, and he wouldn't, if we were intimate, he wouldn't kiss me. So and that made me start to feel undesirable and ugly and ashamed. And I think that when we are rejected at this level, at the intimate level, that brings it home even more. So, and this is a common experience. part of narcissistic abuse, where they really show you that you are worthless, you are disgusting, you are nothing. And it's hard if you live with a person who are treating you like that to not internalize some of that shame. But as I said, they are also purposefully triggering it. Gaslighting is definitely using shame. That's part of gaslighting. Oh, you're doing it again. You'll never be able to manage that. Why didn't you just tell me before and this wouldn't have happened? Or just listen so we won't get into trouble again. You're being so dramatic. There you go, crying again. Little digs at your internal compass. And the repeated message that you're flawed, you're wrong, you can't do it. Then when we are subjected to this, to the narcissistic abuse and the criticism, we start to fawn. We over-explain, we apologize, we are extra kind, extra attentive. Don't speak up, don't set boundaries. And afterwards, or while we're doing it, we might feel ashamed. So while I was fawning, I didn't know that I was fawning, but I didn't know that was a term at the point. But I felt ashamed of feeling so weak and inferior and being treated in that manner. And sometimes that would trigger some anger. And then I would be ashamed that I was angry. But that fawning is a trauma response. That is the fourth trauma response. And I have a video about fawning if you want to watch it afterwards. I will link it in the end as well. And even the emotional lability, the having very close to tears, being angered easily, or experiencing reactive abuse. All of this is response to the trauma and to the abuse. But often we feel ashamed about not being able to control ourselves, not being able to get through, not being able to solve the situation. And we are blamed for everything and criticized for everything. Nothing we do is ever enough. When the abuse has been going on long enough, we also get exhausted. Many of us deal with mental fatigue or burnout symptoms or CPTSD, which makes the exhaustion even worse. And then we don't have enough energy to do all of that. We like the basic level that we were holding in that relationship and still being criticized, that basic level starts to sink. We're not able to do all of that, those things that we were able to do before. And that makes the situation even worse. They criticize us. My husband would get irritated at me, and then I would try to explain how tired I was. And then he would get irritated at me for being lazy or for saying that I can't do something. And I was also frustrated with myself, feeling ashamed that I couldn't do what I thought that I should do. And even though I knew that, so I know that this kind of behavior or this feeling increases the problem because I have worked in neuro rehabilitation clinics a few years ago where a lot of the patients were struggling with mental fatigue. And there we taught them this cycle. So when you are struggling with burnout or mental fatigue, then you will not be able to do all the chores that you would like. That causes shame. And that shame causes you to, when you have energy, when you have a little energy, you immediately use it up, trying to catch up with the chores, but once again crashing. And then feeling shame again. And then when you have a little energy, you feel that, well, yes, finally I have some energy, and immediately you use it up, trying to get things in order and crash again. So shame and not being able to rest enough is actually part of this burnout loop. So even though I knew this, I wasn't able to be kind to myself. It's very hard to be kind to yourself in an environment when you are getting abused. Eventually, when we leave, we feel ashamed for not having seen earlier that we were abused, not having left earlier. We feel ashamed because people don't understand what we went through. We might feel ashamed that we went back several times because of the trauma bond. And we may feel ashamed about our lives collapsing midlife. So seeing friends or relatives having everything in order, and we might be struggling with having loans after financial abuse, or not having everything as stable as we would like because of having been abused and used and tricked by the narcissistic or toxic person. So shame is so important to talk about because many of us feel it. Now let's take a step back. Because as I said in the beginning, shame is it's an important tool to show us when we have done something wrong, either socially wrong, or we may have done something against our own values. So who in this situation deserves shame? It is the abuser who deserves it. But because he's constantly pointing that shame onto you, you start to carry it. But he is the one who have done something wrong. Now let's say that my name is Earl could really happen, and he wakes up one day and realizes that, man, I've been such a bad person and I need to make it up to everyone. And he writes a list and he searches, or he might not search you out, you don't want to contact, but he sends you one letter telling you that I'm very sorry for what I did to you. And I respect that you don't want contact with me. And then he starts to change his life, and for real. And try to repair the damage that he's done. And he sends you back all the money he took from you without wanting anything in return. So it's not a Hoover, it's just a sincere apology and trying to repair. Would he still deserve shame? No. If you have seen your mistake and you're trying your best to make up for it, and you're trying the best you can to turn your life around, and you won't do this again, then that shame is absolved. So shame is just a tool to point something out to us. but it's not something that we should carry around, feeling ashamed and feeling worthless when we are trying to do our best. So when we are still carrying shame around, that's a sign that we have internalized that shame. We have experienced it so much that it becomes part of how we see ourselves, a bit shameful. And it's especially if we have, if that started as a child, that we were shamed over and over, that is extra. That internalization of shame might have happened already in childhood. But no one should go around and feel that constant shame. And what comes with it is often a fear of being shamed and exposed again. And I still feel that. So I still have this feeling that the other shoe will drop, or people that I like will suddenly turn on me, and I will feel ashamed, even though I have done nothing knowingly wrong. There are ways that we can start to work with releasing this shame. And one of the ways, or let's start with, first of all, diminishing contact with shaming people. Going no or low contact with the abuser, the one who was constantly trying to shame us. But also take a look at other people around you. If there are people around you that are shaming you, my advice would be to take a little step back and create some distance in that relationship. Especially when you are healing, you don't need to be shamed or questioned. You don't need comments that causes you to feel ashamed and wrong and misunderstood and at fault. Even though they don't understand what happened and why you were abused, etc., they can still respect you. So take a step back from people who don't respect you enough to not shame you. Shaming others is cruel. And I think it's important also, when we're talking about shame, that when we're trying to raise healthy kids, not use shame as a tool. It is such an effective tool, so it's hard to not use it sometimes. But as much as possible, try to find other ways that we communicate with our kids, so that we don't use shame as the basis for our parenting. And I have a video about that as well. I will link that one in the description if you want to watch it. The second point when we're talking about healing shame is to cognitively understand what happened. Understand that we were abused and the methods that the abuser used, and that we are not alone and we're not the only one that has gone through this. That's why it's so important that we come together as a community and share experiences and affirm each other. It's healing to be able to tell someone what happened to us and have them affirm us. It wasn't your fault. Then we need to retrain our nervous system. when I feel that feeling that I talked about, the fear of being shamed or exposed or having people turn on you, I remind myself that that's just the old trauma pattern. I'm safe now. And when you get anxious, feeling ashamed for no reason, teach your body, show your body that you're safe. Drink something warm, do something restful or that you enjoy. Take a bath, cuddle with your pet. Pets are wonderful. They really love you without any strings attached. I think that they are healing. When you're taking steps forward on your healing journey, celebrate them. Celebrate the steps that you have taken, and don't be too hard on yourself. It takes time. When you go to bed in the night, make it a habit to list 5 or 10 things that you did good that day. Usually our mind is so focused on our faults or what we haven't done yet that we don't even see the things that we accomplish. Start to build relationships with healthy people slowly so that you get to know them. It's so important when we were in a shaming and abusive environment that we create a safe place for ourselves. That first safe place is our home. But when we feel ready to start to create relationships, that we be sure that those relationships are created with healthy people. Start to restore your identity. Get to know yourself as a free woman, as a free person. Pick up some hobby that you used to enjoy or find something new to do. My go-to, or one of my go-tos, is knitting, but taking walks or doing something that you like to do. And to keep your mind away from the overthinking that this abuse caused in us, and bring it to the present moment. There is no shame there. If you don't think about the future or the past, and if you don't have a shaming person next to you, you will not feel shame. You will just be. On Tuesday, I will do a live. I do those every Tuesday, but I will change the timing for the lives from now on, because some audience from Europe is also joining, or they join us in the last live. So I don't want to keep them up too late. So the lives will be from now on Thursdays, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time and 10 p.m. Central European Time. This week, so that is tomorrow, and this week we will talk about why everything broke in that relationship, and why it wasn't your fault, the collapse wasn't your fault, and why we carry so much shame. So it's a bit, we will talk about a bit what we discussed today, but I will expand about it, and also, of course, focusing in on the healing. And in the end of the lives, I will go through any questions that you may have. I would love to see you there. Thank you for listening to this video. I'm Emma, holding up light over the bridge. See you in the next one. kan stå stilla bara. Okej, sluta gå nu. Jag har Mr. Bean. Sluta. Mr. Bean gör inte det alla gånger. Varför? Sluta gå upp och ner. Kom ner.
Ja, men jag går ju långsamt.
Nej, men sluta. Tränar du samtidigt, eller det?
Jag går långsamt.
Nej, stå stilla bara så filmar du mig när jag stickar. Filmar det? Nej, men håll telefonen stilla.
Jag gör den här.
Sluta. Varför gör du sådär?
Hur länge?
Nej, men du står ju aldrig stilla. Kolla, stå stilla något räknar 20 långsamt och sen får det gå. Så försöker du få med, vad heter det? Du behöver inte gå upp och ner.
Jag måste... Då går jag ju långsamt.
Varför ska du gå så?